Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we're looking at the NBA slate for Thursday. Another 3-game slate tonight. 2 late games, 1 early game. Let's get into it. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Kind of interesting night yesterday. Some blowouts in that Philly game wasn't the best, and then Brooks was in foul trouble right from the get-go, so that kind of sucked. John Morant had a huge game, so if you play John Morant, you probably had a good night. But let's go ahead and get into this one. We're going to get right back at it today. Point guard plays today. We have LeBron James is $9,800. He looks like a good option to pay up for. He's been playing big minutes recently, 39, 36. Lakers coming off of a win. We saw Anthony Davis explode after he was garbage in game 1. So good for Davis to stepping up in that game. I think LeBron will probably put around 50, 55 here. He could have 60 plus, but I think I'd rather go to Damian Lillard, save $400. Get a guy going at home in the Moda Center. And he's just been so good this series. They just can't slow him down. He's been shooting a lot of times, as you would expect. Playing 40 plus minutes. Like LeBron might get you high 30s, but Lillard looks like he's going to play 40 plus every single game in this series. Gets you the free throw line, good chance to get you a double-double. And he's just been unstoppable. So I have to go ahead and recommend Damian Lillard as my point guard play today. Paul, I can't play Chris Paul just with the way he's looked, even if they said he's probable today, but I just can't do it. McCollum at 73, I'd much rather go to Lillard. I don't mind if you go McCollum. He was super efficient last game, 9 of 12, but with the Nurkic getting a lot of rebounds, with Lillard getting a lot of assists, McCollum has settled into just a scoring heavy role. Shooter had a big game for the Lakers in game 2. He put up 35, played 34 minutes. He was solid out there. Always a reasonable option as a mid-range guard just because, besides him, you have Campazzo and Hero. I think Campazzo and Shooter are both similar. Shooter might give you higher points, but Campazzo has always been good with the defensive stuff. He has 3 steals last game and a block. He had 3 stocks in that first game. On the season, he's averaging 1.3 steals, and that's only in 22 minutes. So now that he's playing 30 plus, he should get you a couple steals, maybe a block or so, even though he is a smaller guard. Impressive that he has blocks in back-to-back games. He looks like a good option at $5,700. I think he looks better than Tyler Hero, who still hasn't got it going. He's been struggling for the Heat, and they need a win here bad, as if they lose this game, they'll most likely get swept. And then Cameron Payne is $4,800. He had a big game. If you think Chris Paul is not 100%, which he definitely isn't, and you think that he could leave the game, or if he's struggling, then the coach could do what he did last game and just put in Cameron Payne for 30 plus minutes. For that reason, he has to be in the mix in tournaments if you play a bunch of teams. And then for value, I think you definitely can go to Monty Morris. He was great in that last game. Expected him to got a lot of minutes after they lost game 1, and the game that he only played 22 minutes, he ended up playing 30. He might have been in foul trouble in that game 1. He had 4 fouls, but he's a lot better of an option than some of the guys that they have been playing good minutes, like Rivers. He had 2 threes to start the game in game 2, but Morris can get his own shot. He can facilitate for others. He's a great guy to have on the court with Campazzo or when Campazzo is on the bench. But Morris should continue to see good minutes today because Will Barton has already been ruled out and Dozier is still a ways away. At shooting guard, it's definitely looking like Devin Booker is going to have to carry the load again with Chris Paul still banged up. Played 40 minutes last game, played 45 in game 1. The Lakers definitely were paid a lot more attention to him than they did in game 1, especially in that second half. So he's still very reasonable because besides him, you only have Chris Middleton and Holiday and McCollum as your 3 guards above 7K. I like Booker more than those 3. I probably like Holiday the second, then Middleton, then McCollum. For value, it's Monty Morris, who I really like. You can go with Duncan Robinson at $4,600, and maybe even Rivers if you wanted to at $4,100. And then Bryn Forbes was unbelievable in that game too. Shot 6 of 9 from distance, put up 22 points. Played only 20 minutes and he put up 30 fantasy points. That was a great per minute production from him, but that was because he was super hot from the floor. His price tag didn't even move. He's $3,100 again. I think he looks like a good value play just because there's nobody in the 3K range that will get you similar minutes and has a chance to have a similar game than Bryn Forbes. Small forward, it's Jimmy Butler, who has to carry the Heat in this one. He hasn't done it in the first 2 games. especially that last game he really struggled, and that first game he couldn't make a shot either. Just was very passive last game. They got off to a huge deficit, and Butler just wasn't making some plays. And now they're going back at home, so I think there's a lot better chance that this game stays close. And Butler needs to step up here, so I think you can expect him to come out, hopefully, and have a very good game. Michael Porter Jr., another guy that I like. He's only $7,100. Struggled shooting last game, 5 of 13, but not too worried. His minutes are still super secure. They're without Barton still, so they need the second guy to step up and score on offense, and he is the second option behind Jokic. So 71 is a very nice price tag on Michael Porter Jr. And then for value here, it is like Jay Crowder, who continues to get into foul trouble. Had, I think, 3 more fouls in the first half last game. Hasn't been able to top 30 minutes because of it. Was still decent with 23 fantasy points. I just like him in the 4K range because there's nobody else that I like. Like Kuzma's 49. I'm not that interested in that price tag. And then you have guys in the 3K range. So 4K range, it's basically Crowder as a guy that looks appealing. I don't mind going to like Pat Connaughton. If everybody goes to Bryn Forbes as a value, you could see Connaughton maybe sneak through the cracks and have a decent game. He's going to shoot the 3. That's what he does. He can get you some rebounds for a guard as well. Even though he's listed as small forward, he basically plays, well, I guess he plays some small forward. I think he looks good at $3,300 if he needs some savings, because I want to spend up for Jokic, and then I think you can spend up for like another guy in the utility or in the forward spot. Moving on to power forward, Davis is 97, Giannis is 10.9. Giannis coming off of a big 65 fantasy point outing in only 31 minutes. Normally, you would expect him to put up 60 plus again tonight. Could go Davis if you wanted to save some money. Stepped up in a big way last game, and he's just dominated in 2 out of the 3 games against the Suns. He's put up 67, and then one of the games heading into the playoffs, he put up 77, and he put up 31, and I was just dud in that first game. Looks like a good option at power forward to pay up for. Michael Porter Jr., also one of my favorites in the mid-range at $7,100, and then it's Crowder, who I like as a value. I like Crowder more than Ariza, Kuzma, Covington, Carmelo. In the 3K range, nobody that I really want to go to here, except maybe Cam Johnson, just because he has some upside, and Paul Millsap has some upside. But I will go ahead and put in Crowder again. He's just steady, and I think it's about time that he doesn't get into foul trouble in the first half and plays over 30 minutes. At center, love Jokic. I want to get to Jokic and Lillard. They're both going to go back and forth this entire series. Jokic is just going to have to carry the team. Both guys almost had 40 points. Jokic was 1 bucket shy of putting up 40. And he only played 31 minutes too, because he was in foul trouble, had 4 fouls early or like midway through the third. So only had to play 31, also turned into a blowout at the end. But normally you'd expect Jokic to play monster minutes if this game is close and he's not in foul trouble, which he tends to not be. And then the last guy that I want to plug in is probably another center at the utility spot. I think you can go double center here because Adebayo is nicely priced, Nurkic is nicely priced, and DeAndre Ayton is nicely priced, especially with Chris Paul not going to be able to shoot a lot with his shoulder. It's going to fall on the shoulders of Ayton and Booker to carry the offense, and Ayton has done that. I think he will continue to do that in this series against the Lakers. We also saw Andre Drummond have a very good game too. He is 59, so he's only $400 cheaper than DeAndre Ayton. With them still having Carroll, they can play Davis at the 5. I'd rather go to Ayton as my second center, besides compared to Drummond, especially. So that's it for DraftKings. Feel pretty good about going with the Jokic and Lillard combination. That is my favorite game to stack on the slate, just because a couple of the other teams are nice defensive teams. Lakers and Suns, very good defensive teams, and then the Bucks, they give up a lot of points. They play fast, but they're solid defensively when they have to be in the Heat. We'll see if they give up a million threes again tonight. We'll see about that. But that's it for DraftKings. Let's move over to FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel, the point guard plays, we have Damian Lillard at 10.5. He's expensive, as he should be, the way he's played. You have Drew Holiday, $8,500. I probably like Lillard a little bit more than Holiday given that price tag. And then for value, it's Campazzo, it's Dennis Schroeder, and then Morris is already 5K. So that isn't the best, but still playable, I guess. I'm going to get to Lillard at 10.5. At shooting guard, it is Devin Booker, McCollum as your pay-ups. For value, you can go down to, maybe it's a spot where you can go cheap here, like a Connaughton or a Rivers. Those are the only two that are playable as a value plays in my opinion. Kendrick Nunn starts, takes like 10 plus shots, but he's been struggling, doesn't do much in the peripheral department, especially in this game. I think Butler's just going to take over if they get off to a bad start like they did last game. So shooting guard isn't particularly strong besides the two guys at the top. I think if you wanted to go to a value play, Rivers makes some sense just because he's only $4,200. You're going to play around like 20, potentially more minutes than that, depending on how he's playing. Not a lot of good options, so I don't hate going to Rivers at $4,200. Small forward, it is Butler, who I like. LeBron, also I like with 10-3. It's a pretty decent price tag to kind of get to. Or Middleton's also nice at 77. Probably like Middleton the most based on his price tag. He only played 24 minutes. Nothing too crazy because they were up by 1 million points. So I'll probably go Middleton, Butler, LeBron based on the price tags. For value, it is Cam Johnson is still affordable at $3,600. And then you have Carmelo still has upside at $4,300. And Bridges is only $53. He didn't do much again in that game too, but I'm going to play a good amount of minutes, especially if Chris Paul is still banged up. So for me, I'll probably be able to get to, I think, between Butler and Middleton. I think Butler hopefully steps up in this one. He's 91. It's expensive, but I have confidence that he'll at least put up a decent game at least one time during the series. Power forward, if you can go up to Davis and Giannis are both expensive, but both guys give you 60 plus, maybe even 70 plus upside. For value, it is Crowder at 49. It is Covington, although he was so bad in that last game. He's still only $4,500. He plays big minutes. Don't mind going to him. I mean, can't do much worse than 13 fantasy points in 35 minutes or whatever he played last game. I think he looks fine. If you want to go Crowder, you could, or go Millsap, you can as well. But Covington's going to be out there, so hopefully he runs into some stocks in this one, steals especially. And then at center, it's a spot where I want to get up to Jokic again. I've just been paying up for him. It's been working out, especially when Nurkic is 8K, Bam is 82. I think spending a little bit more for Jokic makes some sense. So once again, that Denver-Portland game is the one that has my eye on the most in terms of stacking. Hopefully they both go nuts for over 120 points. And yeah, hopefully that stack works out. So that is it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Best of luck tonight. I'll catch you all next time.